Morning, UCF. My name is German Beard. Thank you. Just that? Great. I'm the event coordinator for the Secular Student Alliance at UCF, and we are here with Knights Against 8 to inform you about Amendment 8 of the Florida Constitution, which will go on ballot this November 6th. We have a bunch of speakers lined up, and now we will open up the floor for anybody who would like to share their views on the separation of church and state or this specific amendment.
Hello, everybody. My name is Colin McAvoy, and I'm the secretary at the Secular Student Alliance at the University of Central Florida. We're having this rally today to let you know about Amendment 8. Amendment 8 is proposed on the ballot. It's going to be, you can vote on it on November 6th. It's entitled the Religious Freedom Amendment, but this name is extremely deceptive. The goal of Amendment 8 is not to protect religious freedom. It is to allow taxpayer money to go directly to religious institutions. Institutions such as churches and religious schools. These schools are already tax exempt, but after this amendment, if it is passed, not only would they not have to pay taxes to the government, but they would also receive taxpayer money, your money. Now, the First and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution protect our freedom of and from religion. I would put forward to you that if this is passed, that would be in direct violation of that. Because how can we have a freedom from religion where, without our consent, taxpayer money would automatically go from us to religious institutions? Not only that, but part of my major problem with taxpayer money going to religious institutions such as schools is that there's very little accountability in this situation. Unlike in the public school system, where we have a certain curriculum that has to be followed, we have standards that have to be met. In religious school, there are not these standards. You can essentially teach whatever you want. So this would increase that. Not only would the religious schools not have to pay taxes, but they would have increased funding, meaning that even more people would be subjected to this education, which is likely to have certain lapses, such as teaching the Loch Ness Monster exists. As an example, something that does actually happen in Florida in certain religious schools.
Thank you, Colin, for that amazing speech. Anybody else who would like to come up here and talk about their feelings about the Religious Freedom Amendment, separation of church and state, is still welcome to come up.
I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what John F. Kennedy thought about this. Post-mortem, of course. For many Americans, President Kennedy summed up the religious school aid issue when he said, "I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute, where no church or church school is granted any public funds or political preference. But citizens should not assume that our rights are secure. In the light of the Supreme Court's voucher ruling, religious school advocates are lobbying Congress and the state legislatures, and that's what this is, for the purposes to divert public funds to private religious purposes. In short, our legacy of religious liberty as Americans is in danger. The nation's vital public school system is being placed in jeopardy at the same time. If these vital features of American life are to be preserved, all Americans must come to their defense, religious and non-religious. Should taxpayers finance religious schools? To maintain meaningful religious liberty in America, the answer must be no.
Thank you very much, David. Now I will be introducing Miss Nancy Robinson. She is running for District 6. Oh, she is the school board member of District 6. She's been a PETA member for a long time, and she encourages quality public education for all students. And I'm very honored to have her here on the stage. Without further ado, Miss Nancy Robinson.
Anyway, I'm an Orange County School Board member. I've been serving on the Orange County School Board for 4 years. And the reason I'm here to talk to you today about Amendment 8, yeah, feel free to come in. Amendment 8 could potentially be detrimental to public education in the state of Florida. Amendment 8 is entitled, as several people have said, Religious Freedom but it's really not about religious freedom. It's been improperly named. It's about religious funding. And it will actually take our state taxpayer dollars and can funnel them to Christian religious schools and private Christian schools. And we currently have this amendment would repeal a portion of Article 1, Section 3 of the Florida Constitution, commonly referred to as the No Aid provision, which is the separation of church and state that we've all been discussing. And it would subsidize these religious groups, and then they would have controls the way our public schools have controls. And I feel if our public dollars that we spend as taxpayers, we have controls over our public schools, then those dollars, if they go to any other institution, they should be held to the same standards, same accountability measures, and same controls. There are currently in the state of Florida approximately 200,000 students.
Now I can quit screaming. Thank you. There are currently in the state of Florida approximately 200,000 students in private Christian schools. And what that would equate to for the Florida public education budget is if we had to start funding those students with the same funding that goes to our public education, that could be anywhere from $4 to $6 billion that would leave the public education budget. And we all know over the last 4 years we're already struggling for dollars in our budget as it is. So trying to take those dollars away from our students that are in public education right now and put them in private Christian schools with no accountability, with no standards the way we have our standards. They wouldn't have to take FCAT, which whether you're a fan of FCAT or not, I think state dollars should all be treated equally across the board. The other things that concern me a little bit about this is once this passes, if this passes, which I'm feeling confident it's not, because I know everybody out there is going to get educated on the issues and vote it down, to vote no on Amendment 8. Yeah. But, thank you. But what concerns me is who is going to determine what a religious group is. You know, are we going to leave that to the people in Tallahassee? That they're going to determine who's a religious group that does get the dollars and who doesn't? You know, what if they choose to give it to some radical groups like Bong Hits for Jesus? You know, honestly, you can go in and say you're a religious group. You start your own school, all your kids are smoking pot, and there's no accountability, but they get your dollars. I mean, who's going to determine that? So I just think we need to really think hard before we go making any changes to our state constitution. Our constitution's been working very well for a very, very long time, and I think some of these amendments, there's a lot of them. There's 11 on the ballot this year, and I encourage you to vote no on all of them, but that's just my opinion. I think that changing these amendments, some of them could be dealt with in policy. They don't have to be dealt with as an amendment to our Constitution. Don't go changing our Constitution with amendments. So, I encourage you to get out, tell your friends to vote no on Amendment 8, and protect public education. How many of you in the crowd went to public education? Well, you're here at public education, but went to public education before you got to UCF? All right, and it served you well, right? And we need to make sure that we continue serving all the students in the state of Florida very well, keep our dollars in the schools, keep our dollars with the students in public education, and not sending our dollars away to private schools and with no regulation. So vote no on 8. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's hear it one more time from Nancy Robinson.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Alright, so my name's Cesarina, and I have the honor of introducing Joe Saunders. He is, that's right. He is a UCF alum, and he's running to represent all of us in District 49 for the Florida House of Representatives. Now he came out here today to tell you guys a little bit about what he thinks about Amendment 8, and here he is, Joe Saunders.
Hello. How you guys doing? Thanks for coming out. Sort of hot, but sort of not. My name is Joe Saunders, and I am a Democratic candidate running to represent the UCF area in the Florida House of Representatives. It is a brand new state legislative seat that was drawn over in the University of Central Florida. So for the first time, UCF and the surrounding area, actually UCF, Valencia College East, Full Sail University, Berry College of Law, all of these major institutions of higher learning will have one representative in Tallahassee who will be able to make some really important decisions and be an advocate for you and for students all across the state. My background is I graduated from UCF with a degree in political science. I was also a women's studies minor and a legal studies minor. And I started my career once I graduated from UCF, I started my career in the nonprofit sector. And I've been an advocate and a community organizer since then. I work for the statewide civil rights organization, Equality Florida, that works to end discrimination in the state. And I've also been an advocate for improving our public schools. I'm a founding member of the Florida Safe Schools Coalition, and I've worked to ensure that students all across the state are protected from bullying and harassment in their school systems. So it is with a school and education lens that I look at Amendment 8. And I just wanted to share that, I spent my career, even before I started working full-time, when I was an advocate here on campus, when I was president of the Gay and Lesbian Student Union and co-chair of the UCF Progressive Council, I've spent my career watching the margins, looking at communities that are historically marginalized, communities that face discrimination, that if their students in schools are bullied because of who they are. And we see often that religious minorities can be targeted. And I think that fundamentally, as a democracy, we have cherished the idea of the separation of church and state because we understand that that separation is what protects religious minorities. It is a shield that protects people and gives them the promise that they can worship whatever faith they want, that they can celebrate whatever faith tradition that they want. And my concern, I have two major concerns about Amendment 8, but one of them is that it deconstructs the separation of church and state in Florida. It removes the Blaine Amendment from our Florida Constitution, an amendment that's been there for 126 years. And it opens the floodgates for public dollars to be used to support private religious organizations. And to Nancy's point, it doesn't define what those organizations may be. There's very little accountability. There's very little oversight. All we're doing is taking away protections that have existed in our Florida Constitution for a long time. So to the degree that it deconstructs that separation that we cherish and that we all agree is really important to protect the rights of religious minorities, I have a problem with it. The larger concern that I have, though, are the concerns that Nancy has already articulated, I think, very well. During the time that Governor Jeb Bush was in charge in Tallahassee, there was strong attempts to create voucher programs that would funnel public dollars into private schools. And what we know is that many of those private schools, despite the fact that they're great institutions, despite the fact that there are so many private schools out there that do really good work and that prepare their students for this new economy and for this new world of ours, many of them have curriculums that I think we would all be challenged to see our public dollars used for. I would have a problem if there was my tax dollars were being used to fund a curriculum in a private school that had a really narrow definition of family, that refused to recognize my family. I would have a problem if there were schools that were giving misinformation about sexual health to students. But we know that some schools do that. And one of the protections that we have from our tax dollars being funneled into those programs is the Blaine Amendment, is the separation of church and state. Fundamentally, though, I think Amendment 8 comes down to a simple question. Do you believe that Florida should have a robust, quality public education system? Do you think that public education is a right in this state? Because if you do, then you have to vote against Amendment 8. Since the recession hit, since 2008, our schools have had incredible challenges. As an advocate, I've been fighting to make sure that not only do we have anti-bullying programs that actually are funded, right, that it's not just some unfunded mandate that comes from Tallahassee, but we have programs that actually are resourced to deal with the problem of bullying. But I've also been fighting to make sure that arts programs stay in our schools, that theater programs and band programs, the programs that actually keep kids coming into school, keep them in the classroom and keep them learning, that those programs are thriving. But year after year in Tallahassee, across the state, we've seen those programs cut. We've seen athletic programs cut, we've seen band and choral and drama programs cut, because there isn't money for it. So how is it that in a moment when our schools are struggling, when they are stretched to the absolute limit, we as a state would put forward a proposal that would repeal the court-decided protections from funneling public education dollars into private institutions? Our schools can't afford more budget cuts. They can't afford voucher schemes that funnel our public dollars away from our public schools and into these private institutions. If you believe that public education is a right in this state, if you believe that the separation of church and state is something fundamental to our democracy, you need to join me and join Nancy and join the people here and vote no on Amendment 8. Thank you very much.
Let's hear it one more time for Joe. Joe's a great candidate. I've knocked doors with him. I've seen the reaction of people's faces when I tell them about him and what he's done and what people that have backed him have done. And it's just great, and I hope he really wins this election. You made a good point. We are, sorry to inform you, 25th in math in the whole world, 17th in science. 60% of the jobs in the 21st century that will open up will require skills possessed by only 20% of the workforce. So fundamentalism of any kind in this situation is a dead end. And I'm glad that you guys are here supporting this, well, not supporting this amendment. And now I will open up the floor to my friend, Kyle Schlosser. He will come out and speak about his thoughts on Amendment 8.
This feels more comfortable. I'd like to begin by thanking both Nancy and Joe for coming out and talking and providing their excellent input on this amendment. So could we please give them another round of applause? Thank you, Joe and Nancy, for coming out and speaking. Let's start with what this amendment is being called, the Religious Freedom Amendment, which is entirely disingenuous. It is not a religious freedom amendment. It is meant to get religion injected into schools. This has already been done in other areas that have passed amendments similar to this. I don't know about you, well, I'm sure a lot of you would agree with me. Anyone else who's listening? I have an issue with my taxpayer dollars being used to teach children in public schools things as unintelligent as intelligent design, or that the world was created in 5,000 days, or that dinosaurs and human beings walk the earth together. These things are simply wrong. They're factually inaccurate. And amendments such as Amendment 8 would make it so these things can be taught in public schools. We have these organizations that are already tax exempt. They don't pay taxes. What this would do, if this passes, would allow those same institutions to also use taxpayer money to inject these, I guess I have no other way of putting it, stupid beliefs into public education. It doesn't make sense. It's wrong, it's immoral, and I really just don't think that there's any credence to be given to voting for Amendment 8 and trying to get it passed. I don't really have much else to say beyond that. I think Joe and Nancy took care of most of it, but please keep the teaching of unintelligent design and other just really, really dumb things out of school, and vote no on Amendment 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And now I will give the microphone to my friend Jericho here. He will share his thoughts with the rest of us. Let's give a hand for him.
Hello, everybody. As many of you may know, our country is in rather dire straits financially at the moment. All across the board, programs are being cut, money is taken away from many institutions, but one institution that has suffered more than any other is the public institution of education. Many of you grew up in public schools, I know I did. I saw firsthand how money was being taken out of our programs, taken away from the pockets of teachers and taken away from our education. I've seen teachers, I knew one teacher, his name was Mr. Sedway. He worked in the public school system for 25 years with the promise of a pension dangling over his head. And just the year before he was going to retire and collect his money, the pension was taken away from him. All across the board, kids are being denied a proper education. And whether you are a Jew, an atheist, a Christian, or a Muslim, I think we can all agree that we cannot allow millions of dollars to be taken away from our brothers, our sisters, and our future children and given to private institutions. This is unacceptable, immoral, and demonstrably wrong. Thank you.
Inspirational words from an inspirational man. I will now present to you my very good friend, she's almost like a sister to me, Desiree Thompson, to share her views on Amendment 8 and the separation of church and state. Let's give her a hand.
All right, so I feel like there's already been a lot of people up here saying some really good things about why they're against Amendment 8, so I'll really to avoid kind of beating a dead horse. I'll just kind of leave it up to this. I don't know how many of us will ever walk into a school, a well-funded school be it, but a school nonetheless, that you sit down in your class and they tell you that dinosaurs and people walked on the planet at the same time. I don't ever want that. It'll never happen to any of us, but it shouldn't have to happen to any of our little brothers or sisters, any of our sisters, or any of our friends as kids. Nothing like that. That situation should never occur. Not in the state of Florida, and really not anywhere in the country. But for now, all of us progressives and all of us people that are going to vote against this, we happen to live in Florida, so we're going to have to stop it from happening here first. So that's why we need to vote against Amendment 8, to keep that separation of church and state, to make sure that the money that we work hard for, that we do want to use for further education, doesn't go to the kind of schools that are going to tell students that dinosaurs and people walked on the planet at the same time. Thanks.
Thank you, Desiree. And now I will present the Vice President of the SSA at UCF, my friend Shane Furman. Let's give it up for Shane.
Hey, my name is Shane. I'm the Vice President of Secular Student Alliance here at UCF. We're affiliated with the Secular Student Alliance nationally. Pretty cool organization. I have to say, Des already said it, this issue's being eaten alive like a dead horse. I think the issue during this election season is that from the past 50 or 60 years or so, these issues, these very same issues, these issues involving women's rights, involving separation between church and state, issues revolving around education, they were solved 50 or even 60 years ago. In a very intolerant time, too. Why are these intolerant ideas being put on the ballot this year? It's fucking mind-blowing. I know, dropping an F-bomb, edgy, but it's astonishing. These issues are poisonous to our society. These issues would degrade our education. They would instill sanctions between a woman's choice, how she wants to deal with her health care, it's just, these amendments these amendments are poisonous. Now, we have, on the ballot this year, we have amendments 8, 6, and 5. 5 would dismantle our courts. 6, terrible for women, like just a terrible amendment in general. And Amendment 8. Do you want to have schools that are funded by the state to teach that man and dinosaur, I know Kyle already said it, but do we really want our schools to teach that man and dinosaur walked on the earth at around the same time 7,000 years ago? I don't think so. Do you? No! Do you want schools to actively discriminate against the LGBT community just because they might not have, just because that religion might think otherwise about that? Do you want them to discriminate in that community? No. So vote no on Amendment 8. Vote early. First day of voting is October 27th. It's my birthday, so I'm going to be voting on my birthday. Really cool. So I hope to see all of you voting on that day. Use your voice. Stop these poisonous ideas from infecting our states, from destroying our sacred institutions here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Shane. You made a great point. We see this government, especially this legislature, going back on social issues like women's health, the LGBT community, education. And a lot of people think that we should be focusing on economic issues, but they are not different. The way that you grow an economy, the way that you grow a nation is empowerment of women, empowerment of the LGBT community, empowerment of public education. And that is what we should strive for, and that's why you should vote on 8. Now, we will take a very small break, and we will see you for our closing remarks later. My friend, Aubrey Marks. Let's give it up for Aubrey.
I'm a little bit shorter, so I'm going to have to hold the microphone myself. But all of you guys here, we're doing something really great today. We're getting together to, banding something that we know is not right for the state of Florida. And, something interesting about voting in the state of Florida, you're not just voting for other Floridians and people in Central Florida. You're voting for other states. As Shane mentioned before, there's a lot, and as Desiree mentioned before, Amendment 8 here, if it gets passed in Florida, it's going to set a precedent for other states. And that is something that we definitely do not want, along with a ton of other measures. I know that you guys are not partisan, but speaking on behalf of my organization, College Democrats at UCF are advising that everyone vote no all the way down the ballot for every single amendment, just because there are a lot of really bad things, again, other precedents that if they're passed in Florida, they can happen in other states, and we would not want that to happen in any other place in this really great country.
Hi guys. Okay, so Amendment 8 really means a lot to me and a lot to my family. My single mom is a public school teacher in Broward County. Over the past few years, we watched as the single paycheck coming into our household has decreased and decreased and decreased. They've taken away the money that she got for going back to school while supporting myself and my brother and earning a master's degree. They've taken away the money that she got for becoming national board certified. It's a miracle that I'm standing here in front of you at a university. She made this happen for me, and the state is punishing her by taking more money out of her classroom, where she's inspired and taught so many students throughout her career. Things like Amendment 8 and things like voucher programs for schools are not meant to help our kids. They're thinly veiled attacks on the public school system in the state of Florida and around the country, and they're attacks on families like mine. My mom teaches to make a difference. My mom doesn't deserve to have money taken away and put into private funded religious schools. That's not right, and that's not something that I think we as a country, we as a state, and us as people should stand for. Vote no on Amendment 8. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, I'm going to give the microphone here to my friend Nicole. Nicole's been very active in progressive organizations, especially Vox and Now. I will hand the microphone over to her and see what she has to say about it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm the president of the National Organization for Women here at UCF. And I'm also working with the Feminist Majority Foundation for the No on Amendment 6 campaign. So as you've been hearing, a lot of these amendments on the Florida Constitution are going to be affecting a lot of different people. They're going to be affecting women especially. Amendment 6 would allow politicians to intrude on personal medical decisions that a woman makes between her family, and her doctor. This also includes that in the Constitution, the Florida Constitution, a woman's right to privacy will be changed. Meaning we have a lot of right to privacy for what we choose to do with our bodies and our medical personal decisions. And the Florida Constitution would change that. So if you vote yes on Amendment 6, our Constitution will exclude a woman's right to privacy. Additionally, if a woman is pregnant and she works for the government, her insurance might not cover care that she needs if she has cancer or if she has a fetal abnormality. Like, her insurance won't cover that. So vote no on 8, vote no on 6, vote no on all of the amendments, and thank you for being here in solidarity with the Secular Student Alliance.
Thanks, Nicole. And with that, we'll be ending our rally. I hope you guys all had fun. Remember, this is the Secular Student Alliance at UCF in conjunction with Nice Against 8. If you want to take a look at one of our cool shirts, literature, business cards, Atheist Bible, it's all great stuff. Come up here and get to know us and see if you can make our meetings. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., room 218C, Student Union. And now we will open up the floor for just anybody who wants to come here and talk for the last 30 minutes of the rally. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good day, guys, and be cool.